Hey, what's up, everybody? We have a new YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe right now. Leave a comment on the video. Share it with your friends. It's also a podcast, 3 and Out, wherever you listen with me, John Middlekauff, Apple, Spotify. We have you covered, as well as thevolume.com. We have merch. Check out. I got 3 and Out hats right now. Thevolume.com. Search the podcast. Buy some merch. What is up? A lot going on in the NFL world. I did a reaction video yesterday in regards to Russell Wilson being cut by the Denver Broncos. Today we will dive into Jason Kelce, and I think why he represents what's so great about the NFL and really America in general. The 18-game schedule, which feels inevitable in the very, very near future, and why I think corporate greed is used a lot, and I think it's the most misused term when it comes to the sports media for sure. And then we'll do a little draft daily, something I noticed over the last couple of days. It became a hot topic about guys choosing not to work out or to weigh in or to measure. Some takes and some thoughts on guys like Caleb and Jaden Daniels and some of the wide receivers not doing anything. And then topic Tuesday, couple things off the beaten path that I saw around the internet streets that I wanted to dive into. So fun time of year. A lot going on. Retirements, trades, signings. Lots going to happen over the next couple weeks. So buckle up, baby. We will have you covered right here. But before we dive into anything football, I wanted to dive into some close friends. Do you see all those people sitting there at the combine? Do you want to go to an event? Do you want to get out of the house and do something fun? Grab your smartphone. And when you grab your smartphone, here's what I need you to do. I need you to download a little application. That application is called Gametime, the official ticketing app of this podcast. And when you download Gametime, here's what I also need you to do. Buy a pair of tickets to any event, concerts, comedy shows, pro, college, you name it, any event. Type in the venue, type in the area you live. And when you purchase your first pair of tickets, promo code JOHN, 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 promo code JOHN, $20 off your first pair of tickets. Been using them for over a year now. Cannot recommend my friends at Gametime enough. Download it now, promo code JOHN. My second year with the Philadelphia Eagles, we drafted an undersized offensive lineman from Cincinnati named Jason Kelce. 13 years later, he looks to be a first ballot Hall of Famer and one of the integral members of the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles that won the first Super Bowl in franchise history. And I think I this morning I saw that he was about to give a press conference. I had just worked out and I was going to go in the sauna. So I clicked it on thinking, last 15, 20 minutes. I lasted 20 minutes in the sauna. The guy wasn't even half done. He gave a very, very powerful speech and hit on a lot of different things that I want to touch on now. And I actually think that Jason Kelce, represents what I love about the NFL. And honestly, and he mentioned this term, the American dream. Because I think Jason mentioned this over and over. No matter what you do in life, you are going to be doubted at different times. Whether it's when you're younger, whether you're older, professionally, when you're first breaking into an industry, as time goes on, if you try to create your own company, if you're a player, most guys are not going to be a top 10 pick. The majority of the NFL is like 4th through undrafted free agents. That means at certain times in your career, people didn't think you were good enough. People thought other people were better than you. Jason Kelce was a walk-on at Cincinnati. He was pick 191 in the NFL draft. Tom Brady was pick 199. So being doubted to me is something very, very healthy. It's something any competitive individual should use to drive them. And the NFL is full of, especially at the line of scrimmage, with offensive linemen, at guards and centers, guys not drafted high who become great impact players. And when Kelce mentioned that I was doubted multiple times in his career, he was not lying. Just like a lot of guys that when football comes back this fall on Sunday, full of guys that people didn't believe were good enough. And everyone's path to being a starter in the NFL is not the same. A lot of guys start on practice squads. A lot of guys get cut their first training camp. And then you look back 10 years later and they've been a 7-year starter. For every guy that's drafted 5th overall and Jamar Chase and just an immediate great player, that's actually the outlier. Jason Kelce represents much more of the quantity of players in the NFL and honestly society. I would imagine if you polled every millionaire you could get your hands on, most of them would tell a story about when they were told no, or you're not good enough, or we don't want your product, or we don't want to do business with you. I would say that's a pretty common theme. The other thing that when you are doubted, you don't need everyone to believe in you. Most of us, right? If you got a couple parents, if you got brothers or sisters, grandparents, family, kind of that infrastructure, those people usually have your back. Most of us have levels of family loyalty and family cohesion in terms of whether it's a brother, whether it's a sister, whether it's a cousin, like those people, because you know them when no one knows who you are. When you're 8, 9, 10 through junior high, through high school, your relationship with those people is very, very unique as you get older. It just is. You've known them the longest. It's why Jason gets so choked up talking about his parents and talking about his brother. Well, as you age, like those people, unless they own the company, can only do so much for you in life. I don't care what industry you work in. You are going to need the people in whatever you want to do to believe in you. You don't need everyone to. Honestly, you don't even need that many people to, but you're going to need a couple along the way. And as Jason said, 2 people, went to the mat for the guy. And I was in Philadelphia when he was drafted. Howard Mudd, who had come from Peyton Manning, where they had had a ton of success with guys you had never heard of playing guard, even at center. It's not like Jeff Saturday was some can't-miss prospect. Loved Kelce. Didn't care that he was 280 pounds. And by the end of training camp, as a 6th-round rookie, Jason Kelce was the starting center for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then he talked about several years later, RIP to Howard Mudd, who got into a motorcycle accident and didn't recover. He was an old guy, great coach, incredible stories. Peyton Manning loved him. Jason Kelce loved him. Most people, when he believed in you, loved him because his stamp of approval went a long way. People act like Kelce, this can't-miss Hall of Famer that he is now. He wasn't always that. The other thing he mentioned is I didn't start going to Pro Bowls and All Pros till later on in my career. And the best season I ever had came after the worst season I ever had. Because Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach, who when Andy was fired and Howard Mudd and all those guys left and Chip Kelly came in, they hired from Alabama. And he's been the offensive line coach there now for 11, 12 years. Really, him and Howie are probably the longest tenured employees not named Jeffrey Lurie or players with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Stoutland just had his back and helped him improve as a player and go on this run to become one of the great centers in the history of the league. And listen, speaking from my own experience, I've had people throughout time who have believed in me, and it changed my life. And I was lucky it was the right people, whether it was Colin Cowherd, whether it was Jason Barrett once upon a time when I got my radio career started, or whether it was Andy and Howie when I got hired by the Philadelphia Eagles. If the right people believe in you, changes the course of your life. But without someone outside of your family structure believing in you, it's hard to go a long way. Because I don't care who you are, you need confidence. And confidence comes from success, but your initial confidence comes from someone telling you that has the gravitas and the experience and the pedestal to go, you can do it. I think you're going to be pretty good. I don't care if that's selling cars. I don't care if that's making sandwiches. I don't care if that's playing center in the NFL. And Kelce had that multiple times with 2 of the best offensive line coaches in the history of the NFL. The other thing that he said that really resonated with me, I was single the majority of my life throughout my 20s and my early 30s. And it allowed me, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this who are single and very professionally and ambitiously driven to do things, it's very easy to be selfish because all you're worried about is yourself, right? You just do whatever it takes. You can work long hours. You don't think about anyone but yourself. And as time goes on, it kind of becomes a hollow way to live. You feel something's missing from your life. And then when you get someone involved in your life to share your life with, I don't even have children yet, I actually think you become a more powerful person in whatever you're doing. And Jason Kelce mentioned this today, that after he met his wife, he went on to have the best stretch of his career. And he does not think that is by accident. And I remember early on in his career when I worked in the office, Kelce was kind of a wild child. He was kind of crazy. And even he's admitted, like, the Kelce family's a little nuts in a good way, which they've harnessed and put toward football and become Hall of Fame level players. And Travis, while he's bounced around relationships, had the stability his entire career of Andy Reid. Where Jason, like, has gone through a ton of different coaches, 4 different coaches. His general manager was once kicked to the other side of the building. He's had a million different coordinators. He's had a lot going on with the Philadelphia Eagles. And he said, once I started dating Kylie, changed my life. And I'm a better man for it. And I think most people listening to this, if you get in a relationship with your high school sweetheart and you've been with someone your entire life, you know, maybe that doesn't resonate as much. But for anyone who spent a large portion maybe of their 20s single, screwing around, and being very professionally focused, as you get a little older, you're like, God, is there more to life than this? And then you realize there's a lot more. And your life becomes a lot more fulfilled. And you become, I would say, you know, more valuable and more, you have a greater ability to do a better job at what you thought you were really good at because your life is more complete. And I thought that was one of the more, and his passion for his family, the loyalty that he shows into his parents. I never played in the NFL, never played in college, but I know I couldn't have ever had any success in my life without the support of my parents. And like Jason, I only have one brother. I'm sure many people listening to this, brothers or sisters, that relationship is something that you just don't get in any other walk of life. That relationship with those people that you grew up with, that have known you from day one, is truly special. And when they're supportive and they have your back, it's probably the most powerful thing you can have in this world is strong family support. And clearly Jason had it. And you could tell how emotional he was discussing that. And what just an all-time personality, truly. I mean, a great player, obviously helped transcend that franchise to finally get over the hump. And then his personality has really come in the forefront. Like, Travis has always had a big personality. And really, anytime you score touchdowns and you're playing on this great offense, sometimes when you're an offensive lineman, it's harder to become famous. And you can tell it's not like Jason's definitely not. I mean, the dude walks around in fucking sandals. He doesn't give a shit. But it's pretty cool to watch his maturation as a human being, as a player, and just overall an ambassador for the sport, which you watch him talk, how serious he takes the fans, the responsibility that comes with being a team captain on a good team and on a team in a city like that cares a lot about it. It's very relatable. And I thought if you just watched him crying up there, the passion he has for football, that's all a fan ever wants, is for the people that we give all our time to watch these games to just feel like this guy cares more than we do. And it's why he's become such a big star. It's why he's just an absolute living legend in that city. And I think he represents, like a lot of guys in the NFL, that just their passion is, they can't even hide it. It jumps off the screen. And it's why football's kicking the shit out of every other league in this country. Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers who deposit $5 or more can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 back in a bonus bet. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code JOHN. The crown is yours. One other story that I saw that's kind of flying around out there is the 18-game schedule. And I think the first reaction to this by anyone that covers the NFL is always, this is crazy. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered, pump the brakes, stop expanding. Isn't this good enough? And the answer is no, it's not. Because the words corporate greed get thrown out all the time. I see it in media when all these people are getting laid off left and right. It's not corporate greed why you're getting laid off. Whatever your role is no longer generating enough money to validate that. Writers freak out all the time. Like, these newspapers, people aren't reading them anymore, guys. They had no problem 30 years ago expanding the staffs when newspapers had the market cornered. Times have changed. In the NFL, the reason the cap is going up to historic numbers is because we watch the game at historic rates right now. The NFL in 2024 has never been more popular. And while the combine and free agency and all that stuff is cool, that is not what pays the bills. What pays the bills in the NFL is starting whenever that first game is, it's usually it's a Thursday now, till the Super Bowl, are the games. And let's face it, we used to have 4 preseason games. They are now a joke. They are unwatchable. I love football. I've dedicated my life to talking about it, to watching it, to being obsessed with it. Games in August are unfucking watchable. Half the coaches in the NFL don't even play players anymore. You're watching guys that are not even going to play come the season. Where at least used to, you would know, hey, the first quarter, then you get a half. Those days are over. They do not really exist anymore. So when the league is going to expand to 18 games, the owners aren't pocketing that change. The players are revenue partners with the owners. So more games equals more money for everyone. All I ever read is how Apple and Tim Cook have more money in cash reserves than like 99% of companies generate over like a 5-year period. They have unlimited amounts of money. Couldn't they just get in the slow lane and chill? Of course they could, but they don't. What just recently happened? They came out with like the VR goggles. They're always pushing the envelope. No matter how many phones they sell, no matter how many AirPods they sell, no matter how many iPods they sell, no matter how well Apple Music does, Apple TV, they're always going further. Why? Because the job of a corporation is to make more money. The job of these leagues is to make more money. We can always be critical, but the way you make money in football is the games. And they're playing 20 games no matter what. It's like, are we going to make 2 of them not matter, or are we going to make 4 of them not matter? They realize making 4 is a waste. So they've added the game, more money. They're going to add the other game. That salary cap's going to go up and up. You know who's going to benefit? All the good players. A lot more money. Mike Evans, over 30 years old, just got $50+ million and 32 guaranteed. And because he lives in Tampa, probably a lot more money. Like the Niners or the Giants or one of those teams would have had to give him probably 15% on top of that if they even wanted to be in the ballpark. But the reason these contracts are so easy to sign, the Broncos cut Russell Wilson, pay him $85 million. Who cares? More money coming in, more money, more money. This is a business. This isn't Little League football. This isn't high school softball. The goal here is to make as much money as humanly possible. And if you're a player in a league where your career is very, very short, you should want the revenue to be as high as humanly possible. Because if you get your hand in a cookie jar, even if it's for 4 or 5 years, you want it to be more for more money than less money. I'll promise you that. And then if you're a great player, financially, you benefit at historic amounts of money right now. So it's going to get thrown around. These greedy pigs, These assholes, when is enough enough? In business, enough is never enough. That's not the way we operate in this capitalistic society. That's not the way billion-dollar corporations operate in any industry, especially not one that's as popular and as successful currently as the NFL. Why don't you guys just chill? That sounds cute on Twitter. You'd get laughed out of a boardroom if that was your idea. Let's just relax a little bit. Take it easy. Give me a break. So listen, I'm not acting like playing the extra game is easy. It's not. I understand the toll just from working in an office. Never played in a game in the NFL. I've seen how hard these guys work to rehab. It's difficult. I'm not trying to diminish that. But with this comes more money. What did Don Draper once famously say? This is what the money is for. And because of gambling, because of everything added to the league in terms of revenue, it's only going to benefit the players. It's not like the players are getting screwed. We've all been in positions in a salary job. It's like, God, they're asking me to do a lot here. Like, I don't really see the benefit. That ain't the case. When you do more, I've been a part of some revenue shares. The more you do, the more money you make. So it's not like the players are getting royally screwed here. I guess I hit on Mike Evans a little bit. We talked to Jason Light about that. Obviously, they couldn't let him go after how well he played last year, what he means to that franchise. He's still just a big-time player. So, to me, to get a guy, an older player on a short-term deal, I think a win-win for everyone involved. Okay, let's do a little draft daily. Because one topic I saw flying out there, which is understandable. This happens anytime there is change. Like, is this the end? I talked to Florio last week. He loves like when chaos ensues. Anytime you have leverage, like there's a reason you have it, right? You have the advantage some way. You see it all the time in businesses when people say, no, we don't need to do this. No, don't want to do this. We've seen it in sports before. Eli Manning, I'm not going there. John Elway, I'm not going there. It happens all the time in the NBA and Major League Baseball. Like, I'm not giving you my medical information. Kiss my ass. Well, the guy getting drafted in the second round of the NBA can't afford to do that. Just like the 10th round shortstop from LSU can't operate like the guy that's going to go number 2 overall in the draft. Or Shohei Ohtani or Bryce Harper is going to have more leverage in a negotiation than some random utility infielder. So this notion that some guys didn't do anything in the draft or at the combine is going to unravel the combine. Caleb Williams is an outlier. Jaden Daniels is going to be a top 5 pick. So if he doesn't want to weigh in or throw, like he ain't the first and he definitely won't be the last. But if you're Bo Nix or Michael Penix and people have questions about your ability, yeah, it makes sense to participate in everything. Just like some of these random wide receivers, you should do all that they ask you to do to try to help earn your stock to improve. But if I'm Rome Odunze or Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm like, yeah, I don't need to do anything. Because whether I do it or I don't do it, I'm still going to be a top 10 pick. But in a draft of 250 to 275 guys, the guys going in the top 10 are a small minority of human beings. So this notion that the combine is in trouble is laughable. Those guys have always had leverage. Over the history of time, we've seen guys refuse to go play at certain places. I actually thought Caleb Williams, when he was asked about not going through the medical stuff, and he said, listen, I have no problem giving Chicago my medical information, or Washington or New England, teams that could trade up, or Denver Broncos, if Sean's like, I'll do whatever I can do to get you on my team. Yeah, totally makes sense. Why should I give that information to the Jacksonville Jaguars or the San Francisco 49ers or the LA Rams? I don't want to, and I don't need to, and I'm not going to. Not even that crazy. I don't think it's that weird at all. Now, if he refused to give medical information to anyone, yeah, that'd be a little bit of a problem. But he said that's not the case. He says, I'll do everything with Chicago. I also think Jaden Daniels is a good example. I always thought this about Lamar Jackson, that when Lamar Jackson went to the combine, and because Polian had made the comments about a wide receiver, he refused to run. He did not run a 40 at the combine or the pro day. I always think fast guys should run because fast guys run fast. Last night, whenever I watched Jaden Daniels highlights, he sure looked fast to me. And if Jaden Daniels is going to run in the low 4.4s, he should run. Even if he doesn't measure in, which teams are going to try to get his measurements because I want to know how much you weigh. Bryce Young, who as a scout told me last year, waddled up to the program full of who knows what, weighed in at 200 plus pounds. He said he saw him waddle to the bathroom and was in there for a while. Puking, pooping, who knows? We all know Bryce Young's not 200 pounds. He's a 185-pound guy. We all know Jaden Daniels is skinny. Who cares? Can you put on weight? What is your body composition? But if you run a 4.4, that changes the conversation in these draft rooms. Fair or not, I just promise you it does. And that could be the difference of you going 2 or 3. So my recommendation, and listen, all signs point to these guys working out at their pro days, which I totally understand. Be around your teammates, be around your guys, be in a controlled environment that you control, not the league. It doesn't bother me at all. What the hell is the difference between a pro day and a combine? Not much. But I think if Jaden Daniels, like, if he has any hesitation on running the 40, if he truly is a fast guy, which the guy I've seen looks pretty fast, you should run. So I think that those stories about the draft, little overblown, about the combine just being, what's the point of it anymore? The point's to meet all these coaches and GMs. They're the ones deciding on how high you should go. And the higher you go, the more money you make. Let's do a little Topic Tuesday. Not set on this name, but for right now, we'll just roll with Topic Tuesday. These are just some random topics I saw throughout the internet or on television that kind of interest me. Braylon Edwards, former Michigan wide receiver, played for like the Browns, the Jets, was a good wide receiver when he was young. Was at like a local YMCA gym. And I don't know if he was getting dressed to go work out or was getting undressed to leave. Heard a commotion on some lockers over and didn't think that much of it. A couple guys kind of going back and forth. Then all of a sudden he heard like a thud and clearly there was like a brawl going on. So he went over to look what the hell was going on. And he saw an old guy, turned out to be an 80-year-old, getting his ass kicked by a 25-year-old. This 25-year-old wanted, or the 80-year-old just wanted the 25-year-old, I think, to turn the music down. And then the 25-year-old started, kicking his ass. And I think when Braylon got there, he was about to slam his head basically into the concrete. And Braylon obviously immediately, I'm sure way bigger than this young guy who is just, I don't care. Listen, some older people can piss you off with some of their demands. If you're fighting an 80-year-old and you're in your 20s and it's just something in this situation, the guy's not like threatening your family, you're a fucking loser, like a complete loser. And it turns out Braylon Edwards, who broke it up, I think the paramedics later told him that they thought he saved the guy's life. Saved the guy's life. What a story. LeBron James scored 40,000 points. I think two things can be true. First, LeBron's longevity is probably going to be unmatched in the history of the NBA. How long he's played at a really high level. He's still 21 years in. He can score 30 points any game. It's pretty nuts. I saw Kevin Garnett basically called him Mr. Balco, which is the kind of group person that Barry Bonds used to go through. I'm not saying that Kevin Garnett did. Like I said, very impressive what LeBron has accomplished, his longevity. Also, I just don't care. And I truly believe most people just truly do not give a shit. LeBron's career is fascinating because like 10 years ago, one of the more interesting, polarizing guys in just sports. I think at this time, most people just kind of like, oh, whatever. It's just kind of indifferent. And I think sometimes you play long enough, the shine of your just interest just diminishes. I mean, we're used to athletes kind of peaking 12, 15 years. 21 is just too long. I just, I can't even have an opinion. Like, I truly just do not care. No emotion. Cool. Some record I didn't even know exists. Good for you. Uh, Last but not least, the Giants, San Francisco Giants, just signed a free agent, Matt Chapman, who a couple years ago was a really good player, like 3 year, $60 million deal. And a bunch of free agents signed, like right around spring training. Manfred, baseball, Boris, and this whole crew, everyone involved. Baseball's completely broken when it comes to free agency. You got to figure out a way. And I don't pretend to know who's at fault. Baseball players forever have said the ownership screws them. The owners constantly push back. Scott Boras thinks everyone's always getting screwed. The only people that truly matter in terms of the interest in your sport are the fans. And it's become very, very difficult to follow baseball. In football, free agency starts, people are going to sign. In basketball, free agency starts, people are going to sign. In baseball, the hot stove winter meetings happen. Nothing. It's March 4th, and top free agents are still like negotiating their contracts. Not good. It is not good for your sport. And clearly there's no end in sight. Scott Boras loves doing this. And listen, if I was a player, I would want Scott Boras negotiating on my behalf. But as a fan of just sports in general, it's just not good for it's just not healthy for the sport to be operating like this.